Welcome back, Adam. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done one of these, and we kind of took a week off a little bit with the bye week. And how was your bye week? First off,
It was good, not too eventful. Did some yard work, got the sprinklers winterized, took the dog on some hikes, and our youngest had a school project, so that type of stuff that,
Yeah.
there are times during the football season. I enjoy the grind of football season, but
Yeah.
there's times you want to be there for your family as well. I know you had a nice break as well.
Yeah, my wife and I went on a 20th anniversary trip out east, and Philly, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, all that. So it wasn't very restful. My wife keeps us going.
Yeah.
She has a big itinerary, but we had fun. So I'm back here to rest now after that vacation. But it is game week, and the Buffs, obviously, we know, riding that 4-game losing streak, and they welcome a team coming in here that's riding a 17-game losing streak in Arizona. And so this is the battle for last place in the South right now.
Yeah, and gosh, I don't know if I've seen a football team that I've covered that needed a bye week more than this team.
Yeah.
They had those 3 practices during the bye week, but then just to get a little time off, I think, just to kind of reset. There's a stamina you kind of maybe lost during the pandemic a little bit, and I felt it a little bit just coming here every day. It's being in front of people every day, and just to maybe, if you're a fisher, get out there and just get away from it for a minute. If you're a video game guy, just to clear your brain a little bit, I think is huge.
Right.
But there's so much pressure on this football team to win this game on Saturday, because if it goes south, then I don't know how you keep this thing from nosediving the rest of the way. There's so much pressure. We saw it, was it back in 18, where you had that loss to Oregon State, and things just kind of went on a tailspin, and they tried to hold those player-only meetings, but it was like it's almost like when you're in a losing streak, it's kind of like quicksand. It's just tough to pull yourself out. To have that break, maybe you hit the reset button, but we'll find out on Saturday. Again, you don't want to think about what's going to happen the final 6 games if they can't win on Saturday, but we're not, certainly if they lose on Saturday, we're not going to pick them to win another game this year.
Yeah, it'd be hard to. I mean, this is one, you talk about 18, that was a slide, but at least you're playing some games. I mean, there were some road games in there, things like that. I mean, after the Oregon State game, they went down to Arizona, Khalil Tate Arizona team that was a decent team. This is an Arizona team that's lost 17 games in a row. I mean, they're not very good at all. I mean, they lost to an FCS and a Northern Arizona team that lost to Northern Colorado. So, this is an Arizona team that's not very good, and the Buffs have not been very good. So, yeah, there is a lot of pressure on this team, because if you lose this one, there's zero reason to pick the Buffs to win another game, because if you can't beat Arizona on your home turf, then who can you beat?
Yeah, there's some young guys on this Arizona team that have talent, but overall, that's not what you expect from a Pac-12 football team.
Right.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of where CU was early on with McIntyre. Following, you had that lame duck status with Dan Hawkins for a while. They, in essence, didn't really recruit for a year and a half in this program. And John Embry took over, and you can say what you will about his tenure, but short of Nick Saban coming here in that stretch, it would have been really tough. And so that's kind of the challenge that Jedd Fisch has there at Arizona. I like some of the stuff he's doing there, especially just from a perception standpoint. He's really getting people on board and opening things up there and taking a different approach. But just reaching out to the editor of our Arizona site on 24/7 Sports, he said kind of similar things about just they weren't recruiting under Kevin Sumlin. He had that huge buyout from A&M, and it didn't seem like he was very motivated to succeed there at Arizona. And so Fisch is going to have quite the rebuild on his hands, and we heard that Carl Durrell said that he thinks they're getting better, maybe a little bit, but that was kind of with Jordan McLeod showing some things at quarterback, and now he's going to be out for the remainder of the season, so that hurts their program. I feel like if Jordan McLeod, being a little bit more of a dual threat guy, was their starter out here, it would give me some pause and maybe even think about picking Arizona. Just we've seen dual threat Arizona quarterbacks have a heyday in the stadium behind us, and so Gunnar Cruz takes over there at quarterback, and he played against BYU and San Diego State and has some talent. Started out at Washington State early in his career, but it sounds like he's kind of doing a little bit of what Brennan Lewis was and hesitating when there's open guy, and so there's issues there with him taking over at quarterback. So really, that program is struggling even more so than CU right now, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. There's 4 Power 5 teams in the country that have not beaten an FBS team yet, and this is two of them. So one of them is going to get their first FBS win this week, and
something's got to give, right?
Something's got to give. 3 of the 4, by the way, are in the Pac-12. Another one is Cal. The other one's Kansas, by the way. So it's not good company to be in right now for the Buffs. So you mentioned this was a great time for a bye week for this program. I agree with you. I talked to Jarek Broussard earlier this week, and he said it was a great opportunity for them to kind of get away and just a lot of guys clear their heads. And he felt that just judging off of, this was on Tuesday, I talked to him, judging off of Monday and Tuesday, he felt like that was a really, really good opportunity for these guys, and he felt that he saw sort of a recharging of the batteries on when everybody came back, and so we'll see how that translates. But I think the biggest thing fans are looking at right now is Karl Dorrell mentioned subtle changes, and this fan base wants big changes, and he mentioned subtle changes. That's not going over well right now.
So you're basically just throwing me in front of the firing squad here.
Well, I mean, I'll give my opinion too, but I mean,
yeah.
Who knows what it'll look like, right? But I mean, I feel like this fan base wants to see big changes, and who knows if that's the right thing or not. But I guess I'll throw mine out there first. If you make subtle changes, if it's subtle changes, and you go out and lose this game, it looks like you're not trying.
Yeah, sometimes you have to make a change, if only for perception's sake. And that's where I kind of felt like this program was at going into the bye week. And if you don't do it during the bye week, you really can't, right? So that was their one opportunity.
Now it becomes at the end of the season.
Yeah, and so that part of it, I get there's a lot going on in that Champion Center that we're not privy to. And, you're not going to telegraph any changes if they are big to Arizona, right? That wouldn't be very smart. But the fan base, I get why they're so frustrated. If it wasn't for Vanderbilt getting shut out this past weekend against Florida, Colorado would have the lowest scoring offense in all of FBS. They're 129th in scoring offense, 129th in total offense. And so I get that if you make a change at the play caller with play caller duties, that's not a magic fix. You still have a freshman quarterback out there, an offensive line that's struggling. But it would at least, give a Danny Langsdorf a little bit of a trial here. No one would expect them to all of a sudden be a great offense, but it would allow you to kind of experiment a little bit there. But, Karl Dorrell doesn't want to do that. And so he's, that's the responsibility that he's got to take on now here these final 7 games.
The other thing is, do you change the quarterback? And obviously Brendan Lewis has struggled. Do you go with Drew Carter and just try something different? And I think that's the frustration with fans is there hasn't been this willingness to try something different. Not even playing Drew Carter. We've gone over this, but not even playing him in the fourth quarter of these blowout games is just mind-boggling. But if you go out and lose this game and it doesn't look any different, like Brendan Lewis plays the entire thing, and you haven't tried anything different, that's what's going to be most frustrating to fans.
Yeah, I guess we'll see Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Dorrell did mention at the very beginning of the bye week that we're going to give these guys equal reps, and the press conference went so short on Monday. That was a question that we probably should have asked just in terms of what that's going to look like. But even if there's a major change there, again, you're probably not going to broadcast it, right? So if they fall down big again and Drew Carter's not out there, they're going to keep getting criticized for it because he does deserve at least, like you said, that chance just to see, because you can't really look too much into late in the Minnesota game, but he made decisions.
Right.
And again, it's mop-up time. Can he do that if the game is still somewhat within reach? We won't know until he's put in that position.
Right, and I'd like to see it, honestly. As long as this continues looking like it does, I'd like to see it. So let's get to prediction time. This is 2 teams. I will say, several years ago, I covered a high school football game. It was the last game of the regular season. One team was 0-9, the other was 1-8. It was the best game of the season. So, sometimes you'll see some of these games where it's 2 teams that are struggling, and it might produce one of the more entertaining games of the season. We'll see. Is this going to be one of those?
You hear the term shootout. I don't know. Is this a thumb war contest here? That's snarky. No, it could be entertaining, sure. Yeah. Like I said, I think if McLeod was in there, that would have been maybe a coin flip prediction for me.
Yeah.
Gunnar Cruz, I rely on our Arizona guys because I haven't gone out of my way to watch the Wildcats this season. I'll be honest there.
Yeah.
I've caught a few bits and pieces of them. I
Yeah.
can't really break down Gunnar Cruz beyond what they tell me, and they tell me that he's not that good at this stage of his college career. And so
Yeah.
that leads me to pick Colorado in this game, being at home, coming off the bye week. Arizona played last week. With the quarterback situation there at Arizona, that pushes me towards Colorado. And Arizona is the only team in the Pac-12 giving up more than 30 points a game defensively. So I will pick Colorado to score the most points they've scored against an FBS opponent this year, but I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I'm going to go Colorado 20-17.
Okay, I'm thinking along the same lines as you. Arizona scored 19 or less in 7 straight games. We know the Buffs are struggling to score, so I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm not going to go like 10-5 or anything like that Stanford game a few years ago. But the Buffs scored two offensive touchdowns last week. They had one the week before that. I'm going to say they get 3 this week and add a field goal. I'll go 24 for them. And Arizona struggles to score. I'll go 24-17 on this one. So I'll give them an extra 4 points. But we're in the same boat here. Probably a low-scoring game that the Buffs pull out, and they need to win. I mean, they absolutely have to win this game.
Yeah, they do.
So,
Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe I can find a cheap flight down to Mexico. You'll never see me again. No, I'll stick through this.
yeah, well, we'll see. We'll be back after the game and just kind of break down what happened.